Hi, he's Mattyman.
And he's Vannyboy. And you're listening to The Rusty Playground, a Gen X-centric podcast about all cool things involving the coolest generation, Gen X.
That's us.
Yep.
Thanks for listening to this part 3 of our very special breakdown of the Big Four. If you don't know what we're talking about, in a black and shiny nutshell, the Big Four are what we call the seminal action shows that Gen X grew up with. In part 1, we talked about the Dicks of Happtard.
Dukes of Hazzard.
That's what I said. Last episode, Last episode, we talked about the man who shot Reagan and the greatest American hero.
No, he didn't.
Well, he could have if he hadn't lost the instructions. And in this episode, we talk about the vehicle that brought the world the wonder that is David Hasselhoff.
Vehicle. That's clever.
What do you mean?
Never mind. Well, anyway, we're going to dive right in. It will be like jumping into the middle of a larger conversation because that's exactly what happened.
Mm-hmm.
We did one large episode on all four, but decided to break it up because, well, why the hell not? And it gets us off the hook for a couple of months.
Well put, Mattyman.
All right. 3, 2, 1. Kit, engage.
Yes, Michael. So the third one, chronologically, the Big Four was... I'm not doing a good job.
It is
Knight Rider. What year did Knight Rider come out?
That it was 82, right?
That was 82. Correct. Yeah.
But when so if it goes, that would have been September of 82.
I'll take your word for it because I didn't write that part down. But it was 1982.
Well, I'm just thinking because if that's when the new season would start, the new fall season.
Oh yeah,
that's a Gen X thing. That's a way to think of it.
That's right. Yeah, you're probably right.
Yeah, your life was divided up into fall season.
Yep.
And then you had the what was it, the winter season, and then summer was just, you knew that's going to be my reruns.
Yeah, basically
because they figured most people are not really sitting at home during the summer.
Yeah, I mean, some of the streaming services now, I mean, you have, the way that they basically have been doing it since Netflix is, of course, you could binge watch it. Boom, watch all 10 episodes or whatever at a time. But lately, these same streaming services are kind of breaking them up into two. Like the last season of Stranger Things, I believe, was, and The Witcher also, although nobody's watching it because they screwed that up. But yeah, kids, if you were a Gen Xer and all you had was regular television, they basically had you had your fall lineup, and then you would have a break for 3 months, and then it would come back in the summer. So it was very weird. But they had to, they needed time to make a full season, so they weren't going to like make all the shows and then send them out. They would basically make the first half of the entire season, and then while that was being shown, they were filming the next group of them that they were going to show. So,
exactly. So then when summertime comes around, they're all, just lazing around on their asses.
Correctamundo. That's right. They could spend all that money they got. The premise of Knight Rider was that there was an undercover police detective named Michael Long, and he was investigating the fraud in this big company, and they knew it, so they shot him in the head, and he was left for dead. He was saved by a self-made billionaire by the name of Wilton Knight. How British is that?
Okay.
Played by Gypsy's from Mystery Science Theater 3000. Gypsy, her big crush was Richard Bazart. Her big crush was Richard Bazart.
Yeah,
that's who played him. Basically, he was a self-made billionaire, multi-billionaire, and he saved Michael's life, gave plastic surgery because Michael had been in the military. He had a metal plate in his head, and so it bounced off. That's why he didn't die, but it tore his face up, and they made him pretty much in Wilton Knight's image, and they gave him a new name, Michael Knight, and he became the lead he was the sword to this guy's foundation, which was called FLAG, or Foundation for Law and Government, because very original.
Yeah.
Michael's partner was, and this was the big selling point, to be honest, was K.I.T., the Knight Industries 2000, which was an autonomous car. It had AI, and its shell, its body was molecularly changed, altered, so it was super, super dense. And he had pretty much any kind of gadget in it that you can imagine, almost like Greatest American Hero, where, whatever you need, he seems to have it already
Mm-hmm.
inside of his car.
It could do some sort of drilling. It could dig into the ground.
Yes. In one episode, the house was on fire. Michael was in the house. Michael had he had a watch. So when he was in the car, he could, hey Kit, how are you doing? And Kit would talk back to him. But when he was out of the car, in order to talk to Kit, he had a watch that he would talk into, and that would broadcast to Kit, and he'd be able to hear it. Well, he was in a house with that was on fire, and he tells Kit, "Hey, I'm in the house on fire. I'm gonna die, and the two people with me." So Kit pulls up. They jump into it, and they get away to a safe clearing, and then he tells Kit, "All right, buddy," all right, good buddy, or whatever. I'll refer to him like a friend. Okay, pal. Yeah, why don't you go put out the fire? So he pulls up next to the house that's on fire and sprays carbon dioxide out of the front, enough of it to stop this house that's raging on fire, and put it out. So, like you said, whatever he needed. There was another one where he'd been trapped under a bunch of logs that had fallen off of a logging truck, and he's like, "Why can't we get out of here?" Kit says, "Well, Michael, the configuration of the logs has made it where they're connected, and I can't get out." So Michael like flips some buttons, and it kind of makes him jump a little bit, the car jump a little bit, and that loosens the logs, and then Michael's able to, "All right, Kit, let's get out of here, buddy." And so he somehow, the car jumps basically straight up out of the yeah. So anything that it needed, it could do.
You've never talked about this before.
Right. Yeah.
Here we are. We know this is a thing. We've never told anyone else about it until right now.
Hey, before we go on this mission, Kit, is there anything I should know? Nope. No, Michael, you don't need to. So they had this buddy relationship.
No, you could do something along the lines of, I just thought of it. So, he could sit there, head in hands, saying, "Oh, if only you had the ability to leap vertically, that would have saved us."
Or better yet,
alas,
better yet,
yeah.
I was going to say, better yet, it's a good thing that your programmers decided that you might one day need all this special juice in your tires to pop up out from underneath logs. I mean, somebody had to think of it for it to happen. It didn't just, the car didn't make itself. They didn't make it where it was like, oh, Kit can, has an AI and in interior mechanics that he can alter how his tires are if you need that to happen. They had to prove, somebody had to come up with the ability for the car to do that.
I mean, it's got a 3D printer.
It's the hard of
what you need. It's just
whatever it is.
Yeah. If only we had a gun right now, we could shoot this guy.
There was
take a minute. 3D printer.
Give me a minute, Michael.
and like you say, to know exactly what you need. How many variables is written into that program?
I know, and I've always wondered. So I look,
if a brunette male with brown eyes, over 6 feet tall.
Yeah, he
says
right.
Else. Next line of code.
Yeah, it has all the if statements, like 783 billion if statements. Because they call Kit an AI, but he's not. There's a big argument online, of course there is, about whether or not he was really sentient or just super smart computer. So I always got the sense that he was basically alive, for more or less, even though he's just a toaster for the most part. But he has his own.
I tend to think I thought, yes, he had his own personality. He had sentience in the same way that Hal is sentient.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean,
I mean, I
Either.
knew of that. I knew who, how they're having conversations with him.
Now
So I
he
just assumed if you had another one doing that, that was just, they had the ability to be that way.
Well, the funny thing is, if you look it up and you ask the internet, how smart was Kit? How much memory did Kit have? Kit had 1,000 megabytes of memory that had 1 nanosecond access time. So for you laymen out there who don't know, 1,000 megabytes is 1 gigabyte, right? So he had 1 gigabyte of memory. Now, that seems almost laughable by today's standards, but this was 1982, and when I graduated VCU, I got a computer. As a graphic artist, I got like super powerful computers, best one I could get, and I even paid an extra $800 to have more RAM, memory, and stuff. And my hard drive was 720 megabytes. And I remember,
Wow.
me and my friends would save stuff on it and be like, I'll never use all this stuff, man. The computer will go bad before I run out of memory. Famous last words. Don't even say that anymore. Really, actually, now everything's on the cloud, so it doesn't matter to
Well, if
us.
your stuff is not on the cloud, you're an idiot.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Or you've got like tons and tons of
La
hard.
la la, I got all these thumb drives. They'll never go bad.
Yeah, they all look exactly the same, and I've got like 600 of these thumb drives that are all 32 megabytes a piece. You can get them on sale, people. Yeah, um,
For
so
God's sakes, get yourself cloud storage. It's free. We're not promoted by anyone.
no,
Just come on, just do it.
yeah, I don't even think.
Promise me you're going to do it if you're not doing it.
Yeah, go on. Whether it's Google Drive or whatever, you probably have it. If you have a Google phone, then for sure all your stuff, your pictures and stuff will upload to your
You had the
Google Drive.
power all along.
Yes. And so there were other characters. There was Devin Miles, who was the head of Flag, and he's the like pompous British guy that gave Michael his jobs. There was Dr. Bonnie Barstow, who was Kit's chief engineer. Now she was on it the first season, and then for some reason they got rid of her and replaced her with somebody in season 2. And Hasselhoff and Mulhare was the guy who played Devin Miles. They really put up a fight and said, basically we're like, we're not going to come back if you don't bring her back. It made no sense why you got rid of her in the first place. So they brought her back, and she was there for the 3rd and 4th seasons.
Okay.
All right, so a few more little stats about Kit, because that was the most fascinating part of the show. Let's face it. Kit could go 0 to 60 in 2 seconds, did a quarter mile in 4.4 seconds, and had a top speed of 200 miles an hour, which I don't know, they never really showed any of this on the show. It was implied he was fast and all that kind of stuff, but you never got the sense he was really going 200 miles an hour. They just sped up the footage. You would often see the car drive itself, right? And if you'd probably ask yourself, well, how in the world did they do that? Remote control? No, it's too hard to control that way. So what they did was they had the stunt driver sitting basically in the back seat or right behind the front seat with a little hole in it where he could see and also stick his arms up through and drive. So he couldn't really do that.
God.
Yeah, they couldn't do it for a long time, which is why the little snippets of him turning around by himself or going past the camera or whatever, they were limited in how much time, simply because it was dangerous. They didn't want to do it but too much. And then, as I mentioned with the Dukes of Hazzards show we were talking about, they used miniatures in this show. Now, when Kit was driving himself down the road, you were really seeing this car being driven by someone you couldn't see, but it was actually a car going down the road. When it would do, stunts on 2 wheels, where it would, do we all know what it is. It goes through an alleyway. It's too small for it to go through. It'll go up on 2 wheels, and but when it jumped or anything like that, it was very obviously miniatures. And when I was doing you go back and watch.
Probably was in like super slow mo, so it doesn't look as obviously like a model. But even then, you could tell it's a model.
Oh yeah, they had some. The one that I saw when I was looking, doing research for this, where Kit is like pulled into this not quicksand, it was like mud, just big mud pond almost. And when he does, it's like so obviously, miniature. It's like, wow, I can't believe they
Mhm.
actually released that. Is how obvious it was. It looks terrible.
Like a 6-year-old, and like, something's off.
Yeah, you would. It looked as much like it was going into the mud, like a car was going into the mud, as Rudolph did an actual reindeer. So I mean, it was that fake.
Mhm.
Very surprised when I saw it because we were a little older, right? This was came out in '82 and I think
Right.
ended in '87, I think. So, or something, 86, something like that. So it was out
Yeah.
for a while, and we were a bit older. So, it looked like crap.
Oh,
Now,
something
what's
I
that?
just thought of? They did that classic trope of they had to have Michael's evil twin
Yes.
with the goatee.
Do you remember his name?
No.
Garth.
Oh,
Garth
okay.
Knight. Yeah, it was Garthe.
And he drove some super enforced technological like semi.
Yeah, it was a like a Mack truck, and it also had the molecular bonding on it, so it was just as tough as Kit, only it was a Mack truck. Now he did
Yeah.
not have a goatee; it was worse than that. He had a cheesy mustache and a flavor saver.
Okay. I got you. It was like not connected. It was just the underneath the chin and the mustache.
It was underneath the bottom lip and a mustache, so it wasn't even a goatee. Wasn't even hair on his chin.
Right, right, right. Yeah.
Now you know he was a bad guy because he wore all black and he had that flavor saver thing. So that was really lame. And he was basically at the beginning of the show. Desmond mentions to Wilton, he's like, I couldn't help but notice that Michael has a very striking resemblance to you as when you were a young man. But then I guess they just kind of forgot that because later they brought in Garth, who's his estranged son. So really, they didn't have that planned. Now that I think about it, it just dawned on me. But they basically had it like as if he was modeled after Wilton, but he actually later was like, oh well, your son is dead to you. He's still alive, but he's a bad guy, and he's dead to you. He had the first prototype, which was I forget what the name of his. It wasn't Kit. It was I don't know. They should have named it Kill, but anyway, it was some other name, and he was the first one. He was the prototype, kind of like Lore and Data. So basically,
Mhm.
they in Star Trek Next Generation, Data was he when he ran into Lore, which was his brother, so to speak. His brother said that he was the first one that his dad made. That Data was the first one, and Lore was the second one. But it turns out Lore was actually the first one, and he was defective, and so that's why he took him apart uh, and made Data and didn't give him any emotions. So it's kind of like, this guy's a cold, heartless
Mhm.
bastard as well. But it is cheesy. The whole show's cheesy. It certainly would not hold up very well now. The things I saw were really, it's just hard to imagine that when I was 11 or 12 years old, I was watching this and going, man, that's just amazing. But I
Mhm.
was, we
Yeah,
were.
I know. When you think about it, it's like what would hold up? I mean, the effects wouldn't look right.
Nope.
The storylines, it's just like kids saying, "Hey, pretend this." Okay, and then this happens, and then that
Right.
happens.
Right. And Kit was almost a Inspector Gadget type of character, but he did all the stuff and he was the one that was getting shot by bullets and hit by tanks and stuff, and Michael was able to just go out and do his own thing. I mean, Michael was tough as well, and he cared about K.I.T., but it was the K.I.T. show is really what it was.
Yep.
Now
it made him famous.
Oh
Made him
yeah,
famous here though. David
yeah,
Hasselhoff.
for sure. Yeah,
The
everything.
Hoff.
The Hoff, he has everything he has now because he was in that show. Iconically, or one of the most iconic aspects of K.I.T. was the red light on the front that went back and forth, and that was inspired by the Cylons from Battlestar Galactica. Basically, Larson, Glenn Larson, who created the show, he wanted K.I.T. to have a heartbeat, so kids could be like, "Oh, he must be alive," but they didn't want to have. They were like, "How are we going to do that? We don't, we didn't want to have that." So they had that little pulse go back and forth, and it worked. I thought it was awesome.
There's another show that Glenn Larson had his hands in.
Yeah.
A light thing like that.
What would that
Battlestar
be?
Galactica, anyone?
No.
Cylon.
Yep.
Cylon Centurions, I believe.
Yep. That's where he got the idea from. That's why he was able to use that very blatant ripoff. It's because he was the creator of the show. So, it's funny because, when I was doing research for this show, I found another old tape. It was a cassette tape, and I digitized it, and I haven't heard it yet, but it said on the outside of it, Vannyboy and Mattyman, Knight Rider. So since we just happened to be talking about that, I don't remember this at all, especially since we didn't officially meet until 1990. But this must be a recording of us when we were kids, 12 years old, whatever, watching.
Another repressed memory.
It was, yeah. We have a lot of those. Some of them, will be flashbacks in the future. I'll leave it at that.
Well, once again, we were Gen X. If you fell off the roof, who's to say? No one's home to say you do it.
Right. And we hit our heads so many times on rocks and stuff, playing Dukes of Hazzard and whatever. So,
hey,
but anyway,
don't worry. It's like, don't worry, Mom. I took care of it. I already microwaved my own dinner. I got it.
I got a gnat in my eye, and I used methylate. So yeah, I'm good.
Yeah. Yep. And the dog may or may not be bleeding.
That's not my problem because that's not my dog. It's your dog, Dad. It's your dog, Dad, not mine.
I learned it from you.
So, do you want to hear it? We'll be hearing it together.
Oh, yeah. That's right. We're going to listen to an audio track.
Yeah, because I digitized it, but I haven't got to listen to it. So, all right, let's dig in and let's.
So it's gonna be fresh for both of us then.
It will be. Yeah, it's cool. Let's check it out.
Hey, Vannyboy, want to ride our bikes?
Sure, Matty man. Want to play Dukes of Hazzard? I'll be Bo and you be Boss Hog.
Yeah. Wait. What is that supposed to imply?
Just that you wear cool suits. That's all.
Oh, okay. Well, no. Let's play Knight Rider.
Oh boy, yeah, that sounds awesome. How do we play? Do we get on our bikes and go around the neighborhood and have adventures and figure out how to stop the bad guys with the help of our Trans Am / bikes? Get the girls and wear a cool black leather jacket?
I was kind of thinking more along the lines of you put this Cylon helmet on, I hop on your back, and you do most of the talking and all the hard work, and I walk away with the girl. How does that sound?
Not great. Oh well, what else am I going to do? Go and play on a personal computer or something? Like that'll ever happen. Yeah. Okay, well, yeah.
Well, that was something.
I don't remember that at all, but,
Who would?
I don't know. But I, was kind of surprised I mentioned that, I didn't, it's not like I would ever be on a personal computer, but I mean, that's pretty ironic because I'm on one right now.
Yeah. Well, they had a laugh about it too, didn't they?
Yes.
I mean,
yeah.
We did.
They, yeah, we. Yeah. We are they. We are they.
Yes.
Together we make they.
It's
And
always
so
us and them. And then
us,
but then when us and them are all of us, then what do we do?
well, I'm a brainstem floating in a void. You're
Yeah.
all created to keep me amused. Okay, well, this is where we're going to stop our discussion about Michael and his badass car. Join us for the next episode where we'll wrap up the discussion on the Big Four with the final show, the A-Team.
Pity the fool that misses that episode.
I knew you'd do that, and you know what? I love it when a plan comes together.
I can smell the cigar.
That was a fart.
Yeah.
Same difference.
Wow.